What is poppin', fight fans? We are in the building. Welcome back to another episode of the Mystic Hour, episode 4. Me and your boy, and the birthday boy.
Don't remind me. Last
All
day of
right,
my 20s. Oh my
hold on,
God.
give me one second. My sound's off here.
Yeah.
There we go. You hear me better?
Yeah, I can hear you better. How about you?
There we go.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we're all good. We're
Awesome.
good. We're good. We're back for episode 4, the Mystic Hour. Hope everybody's having a great week, great weekend. I know Nick's going to have a great weekend because it's his birthday. I know we're in quarantine, but you still got to turn up. There you go. Still got to turn up. We had some amazing fights this past weekend, had a really good card. Daniel Cormier and his career. Unfortunately, he took a loss to Stipe Miocic, the champion, the heavyweight champion. It was a really good five-round war. This is the third time that they fought. I love the fight. A little drama within the fight, which has happened in a second fight, which is crazy. It kind of added up with the eye pokes, but ultimately, Stipe Miocic ended up putting in decisions on all the judges' cards.
Yeah, I guess the old fable, an eye for an eye, right?
Yeah,
I felt
literally.
that it was a bit appropriate. I mean, obviously you don't like to see that happen, but it's kind of ironic that it did. But nonetheless, I'm glad that I remember that was something that I had mentioned last time when we were trying to predict the matches last week. That I was worried that if this did go to decision, that the judges would be too emotional and that they would perhaps favor Cormier. But I think they got it right. I'm glad that they got it right because Stipe did deserve to win. Um, it's kind of weird that Goddard didn't catch that eye poke right before. I think it was the third round or it was
Yeah, it was
right
in the third round. Yeah, the third round,
right.
correct.
Yeah,
Which
so
was kind of towards the end, I believe, or maybe halfway.
yeah, I
But
think like maybe 20 seconds before the bell is when it happened.
yeah, and Goddard told him. He told Cormier. He said, "Sit down." It was a punch, and Goddard ended up apologizing after and telling him it actually was an eye poke. He didn't see it that time, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to see. It's easy for us to criticize when we get instant replay and we're sitting in the comfort of our couch or wherever. But nonetheless, even with the injury, I still think that Stipe outperformed him and he deserved the win. Obviously, it's a sad story or a sad ending towards Cormier's career if it is indeed finished. But nonetheless, like I said, he shouldn't have to have his head hang low. I think he should continue. Obviously go out with grace. He's already proven what he means to this sport, to this league. And there's nothing really he should feel bad about.
Yeah, Cormier shouldn't feel bad about anything. He had a really great performance. He came in very hot. I think he won the first round. I think he was winning that second round until he got caught at the end. He
Hmm.
won the fourth round, and then Stipe won everything else pretty much. But I just felt that Stipe was just one step ahead of him in everything that he was doing. Stipe was dodging those shots. He was taking the shots pretty well too. He was holding him against the cage, using that height, had the body wrap a lot, so Cormier didn't move around too much, and he just was a step ahead in every step of the way. I had a couple people ask me, "Hey, do you think Stipe won? Do you think it was controversial?" I don't think it was controversial at all. I
Hmm.
don't think it was a 49-46 performance that the judges had. That was a little crazy, but as we
Yeah.
had this whole entire quarantine, the judges can be a little weird with their scoring. But I thought it was a pretty close fight, but Stipe was just a step ahead every time. He started off the fight with those body shots that he caught Cormier with the first time. And he just was off the bat with the body shots, throwing a spinning elbow to his body, just hitting that body a lot. And unfortunately, he dug into that eye and ended up scratching.
The retina, right? Oh, no,
No,
cornea.
cornea. His cornea. Yeah,
Yeah.
he got his cornea. Unfortunately, hit there, and then after that, Cormier literally couldn't see out of that eye. So after the third round, Daniel Cormier is literally fighting with one eye, and you can literally see Cormier just kind of just like trying to dodge and see where the punch is coming from,
Hmm.
especially when it's coming from the left side. So you got to give him a lot of credit for doing that because some people don't survive injuries in a fight, as we have on this card, and we'll talk about that later. But some
Yeah.
people, things happen and they give up, but Daniel Cormier did not give up. He still looked strong in that final fight. He didn't look horrible at all. Does he want to go out that way? I don't know. I think it's okay. He has nothing left to prove. But maybe if he wants to take one last final heavyweight fight or something like that, he can if he wants to. But there's no reason to. He has an amazing career in broadcasting that is waiting there for him in wrestling with the coaching with the kids. Or if he wants to coach anybody in the AKA squad, he has a lot of opportunities to do things. But we can't go away from how amazing Stipe Miocic's performance was. And I feel like people kind of escaped that because it was Cormier's last fight. but Stipe Miocic is officially the best heavyweight of all time in MMA, in my personal opinion. What's up, Burt Watson? I see you in here.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much certified and stamped, right? By now, now that he defended his title again, as far as Cormier, I do hope this was his last fight because I don't want to see I don't want to see his career diluted by coming back for another fight because he wants to come off of a win, but then he loses that fight, and it's just like at what point do you just call it quits? Like what don't stop beating a dead horse kind of thing. So, but yeah, Miocic, he performed really well, and yeah, he's certified, like I said, the best to ever do it in this weight division. And actually, now that I think about it, if I remember correctly, it was the first or the second round that actually Cormier got an eye poke. I mean, or that Miocic got the eye poke from Cormier.
Yeah,
It
that's
was a
right.
slight one.
Exactly. In the
It
second
wasn't
fight,
as severe,
exactly.
right? Exactly. It wasn't as
Yeah,
severe,
that's why he was
obviously,
out for
as
a year.
yeah, exactly. But it wasn't not so much. I don't know if you took it as that when their last fight, but this fight he got eye poked as well.
Yeah, he did. Oh yeah,
So
Miocic. Yeah, so
yeah,
after,
it's
yeah,
just
in
yeah,
the first, I think in the first round he got eye
yeah,
poke, and
exactly.
then Cormier. So it's crazy how the eye poke thing was working out.
Yeah,
But
man.
hey, they still stuck it out for 5 rounds in a smaller cage. And oh, one thing we didn't bring up: Daniel Cormier didn't use wrestling as much as we thought he would. We thought he was going
No,
to use
he
that
did
smaller
it.
cage to wrestle him, and I guess maybe we'll find out when Cormier speaks. He might not have had the cardio for it. He might have just thought differently about it, or maybe thought he could outstrike Stipe and just kind of confuse him rather than him go straight in there, go for legs, and just take him down. So different kind of game plan.
Well, I think also it's going to be kind of difficult to wrestle when you're only seeing out of one eye.
That's
So,
true. That's
I mean,
another thing.
I think maybe perhaps if it was in the plans or in the cards, maybe perhaps he was going to reserve it for later on. But then obviously that injury had him only seeing out of one eye, and I mean it's already difficult, being in the middle of the ring exchanging blows with one eye. Imagine actually wrestling and trying to figure out where your opponent is, and because sometimes you're not even seeing with your eyes. So at that point, you're feeling with your body, with your hands, with your legs. So it just makes it that much more difficult.
Absolutely. And then I thought Stipe was going to maybe announce a retirement or something like that, but in the press conference the days before, he said he feels like he wants to retire after every fight. So it's crazy that he just keeps going. He's defended his title about 6 times now, which is unheard
Yeah.
of in a heavyweight division. And does he have anything left to prove? Not really, but now we have somebody else coming up the division, and we'll talk about that later. We'll get into that. So it might make him last a little longer, but I see that Stipe versus Ngannou match next, which is going to be
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. It's going to be the second time they fight. Ngannou's been on a tear through that heavyweight division with 4 straight knockouts within under a minute against a murderer's row of people. So that should be a pretty good fight.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that fight.
That's
And
right.
I'm glad
Yep.
I'm glad that also I think we talked about, or we're going to talk about John Jones later on, but John Jones, with everything, the speculation about him retiring, is he coming back and everything like that. I like that Dana White definitely just put it out there that, look, whether he comes back or not, Ngannou's getting Miocic next. Nobody's overstepping Ngannou. I don't care what your repertoire is with this sport and everything. Ngannou clearly is deserving to get this title shot with Stipe next. If Stipe
Yep.
does not retire, then that's exactly who you have to give it to, because, like you said, he's been on a tear, and you have to reward that.
Absolutely. And one thing Burt Watson has brought up right there, training and cutting weight, even heavyweights chase guys into retirement. That's true. And Cormier brought that up, saying he doesn't know how many training camps he can do again. He can't take fights on short notice like he used to when he was 35 and 36. He's got to put his body into full training camp mode. And even a guy like him who's not huge, he still has to cut a little bit of weight to be at a great weight to fight and to just keep up in the ring with a smaller guy like Miocic. He can't walk into that ring 255, 265. He came in 233 and he lasted all 5 rounds with no huge issue. So that is definitely
Right.
a big thing to bring up with the conditioning part and the training camps. It's tough. MMA is a very tough sport, people. So when you see them retire early, don't be surprised. Do not be surprised.
No,
But
don't blame him either.
and don't blame him. Do not blame him. Speaking of blaming, well, he didn't really blame anything on something. In our co-main event, Marlon Chito Vera, he turned the Sugar Show off. He was not trying to watch
Yeah,
that
man.
anymore. He was over it from the beginning of that fight. He was screaming, "Come on, let's go!" Sugar Sean O'Malley came in the middle of that ring, gave that Conor McGregor bask in my presence, and Vera was not bowing down for anybody. He ended up TKOing Sugar Sean O'Malley in the first round by elbow strikes and a little bit of punches on the ground. But before that happened, Sean O'Malley looked like he had an injury. A lot of people thought he just stepped wrong or he did something. No, if you watch that fight, and I rewatched it 5 to 6 times to see what happened, Chito Vera was smart and did that calf kick. That calf kick has been very, very annoying for a lot of fighters because it just cuts a nerve off. And then all of a sudden, you feel like you can't walk on that bottom half of your leg anymore. And that's what happened to Sugar Sean. He tried to work around it and move around, but he ended up succumbing to it and falling to the ground. Chito finished him on the ground, and everybody was like, oh, maybe Sean wasn't out. You're not taking clean shots like that if you're coherent and you're there. He was taking 3 clean shots. You can hear it since there's no audience to the head. That was pretty rough. Sugar Show is over for now.
Yeah, for now. I think this is just a humble step for him. Unfortunately, that injury, and you hate to see that happen too, you know, mid-fight, an injury come about because you feel it's not really a fair reflection of the fight. And that's not taking anything away from Cheeto, because I know Cheeto came into this very, very enthusiastic because of, you could so-called the blown call of his last fight against Song. Yeah. So I know that he had that chip on his shoulder. And he wasn't intimidated by the Sugar Show. So it's unfortunate. I hope that they do get a rematch between these two guys, because I felt like we didn't really get the fight that we wanted to. Whether he was, like you said, he was incoherent or not while he was getting beaten badly towards the end of the round with Marlon. I mean, you kind of already knew that, like, with the way that he was stumbling over himself and everything, that this fight wasn't going to carry out very long. So, I mean, what's the point of dragging it out and, you know, having him come back a second round when the guy could barely even stand up?
Absolutely. And Cheeto just had that, I don't know, as soon as that fight started, I'm like, he has his fire in him, and he's not going down. And he was taking some pretty good body shots from Sean O'Malley. Sean was throwing some body shots at him, some leg kicks, kick to the head, and you can hear O'Malley's coaches saying, oh, you've seen that before. You've seen that already. He's got nothing for you. And I think that was pumping Cheeto up more, just like, no, you're not ready for this, and I'm going to throw some hard stuff at you, and you better be prepared for it. O'Malley looked comfortable in there. Cheeto looked comfortable in there, but Cheeto just had a little bit more confidence, especially after he hit him with that calf kick, and he knew he couldn't survive the rest of the round. And it was towards the end. I think there was about, 12 or 15 seconds left, something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
And a guy like Cheeto, who's been fighting for such a long time, he's 27 years old. 27 years old, and he has more fights in the UFC than Stipe Miocic does. Can you believe that?
That's ridiculous.
That was his 16th fight in the UFC. So he's a guy who just, stays active. And I know O'Malley had that confidence, but you have to give that respect to somebody like Cheeto, who can take shots, and he's been in there with so many people, a lot of guys, and he's very experienced. And everybody said that O'Malley hasn't fought anybody who has the experience of Cheeto, and just like, it's still kind of, he's still young. Eddie Wineland has a lot of experience, don't get me wrong, but a guy like Cheeto, man, has fought a lot of who's, and there's only one way up, and that's for him, and that's up high. Welcome to the Cheeto Show.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm happy for him. I'm glad he got that vindication, like I said, from his last fight. I still, like I said, I really want to see a rematch between these two guys because, I think even Sean O'Malley sort of knew that it was over with once he got that dead leg. I don't think that he was ever going to come back from it, and he knew that as well. It just kind of showed, because at that point, it was just a defensive standpoint for him, where he was just trying not to get knocked out or just trying to survive the round to see what was going to happen. But really, the best thing that could have happened to him was what ended up happening in the fight. Calling off the fight early, like I said, whether some people understood it, that he was knocked out or that he wasn't, like I said, there wasn't going to be a fight after that round. So might as well call it early. Cheeto, I'm happy for him, especially like from these guys that they come from countries that, are not really popular in the sport, like Ecuador. Or like we had another guy like Rosenstruck from Suriname. I like seeing these, these people who are representations of countries that are not really, very popular in this sport win. So I'm happy he got this win, but I definitely want to see that fight, and I want him to prove, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are saying like, oh, you only won that fight because Sean got injured and everything. Like, no, if they do get a rematch, I want him to prove that this wasn't a fluke. I want the people to understand that, look, I'm this talented, I'm this skilled, and decisions haven't always gone my way, but I'm here to show you that I'm just as good as this guy, if not better.
Absolutely. And just like you said, a guy like Cheeto coming from a country like Ecuador, he said he'd been at 1,200 fights in Ecuador and lost 1,100 of them. but he
Yeah.
still got past that. He got here to America. He
This is
signed
that immigrant mentality, right?
that
That's what he
immigrant
said.
mentality. Yeah,
Yeah.
that immigrant mentality. And he came here with not that much money in his pocket. He had his family still back home in Ecuador and just hustled his way to the top, made a good amount of money, started training with Jason Perillo, which I think did wonders for him, especially within his striking realm, because Cheeto was definitely more of a ground guy before, and now he's knocking people out. He's knocking people
Hmm.
out in a lot of his fights, and his boxing is so crisp. Like, the wonders that Jason Perillo, shout out to Jason Perillo, what he does with his fighters like Michael Bisping, Rafael Dos Anjos, Chris Cyborg, he does amazing things with those fighters, and he doesn't train with anybody either. He told Cheeto, I remember Cheeto telling the story and saying, I asked Perillo to train me, and Perillo's like, nah, I'm good. I have my people. And then he was like somewhere after a fight, and he asked him again. He's like, I don't want to keep bothering you, but I want to train with you. Perillo
Yeah.
said, you know what? Come to the gym on Monday, but if we don't mesh, you're out. And look at it now. Cheeto's
Yeah, man.
moving up the ranks, and hopefully he fights. I don't. Do I want to see that rematch? Yeah, down the road, but just not right now. I want Cheeto
Yeah,
to.
no, of
I want
course,
to see
yeah.
Cheeto move. I want to see Cheeto move up those ranks, and I feel like he should be ranked higher, to be completely honest. Because in my
Hmm.
opinion, in our opinion, he beat Song Yadong. Give him a guy like Jimmy Rivera. Jimmy Rivera's top 10.
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty good matchup. There's a lot of guys in that top 10 that I feel Cheeto deserves. He was good for that Cormier event. He's exciting to watch. UFC should invest a lot in Cheeto Vera. I know they did already in Sean O'Malley, which they still can, but I want to see Cheeto fight somebody in that top 10. Cheeto, Jimmy Rivera, give me that. Would love to see that next.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to see. I like you reiterated. Like I definitely would like to see a rematch. But yeah, definitely don't slow Cheeto down. Malley's probably going to be out for some time. There's no point in waiting for him, especially when Cheeto's this hot. Just give him these top 10 guys because he can compete with them, and he's unfortunately gonna have to continue proving his worth in this league. Because like you said, where he's ranked right now, it's not really a fair reflection of where he should be. Especially when you take out Sean O'Malley. I don't care if it's because of an injury. When you beat somebody like that, when you put an end to that show, I mean, it should reflect in the rankings, and I don't think it's properly reflected. So yeah, definitely. I hope he gets a fight soon, and then not the next card because that's already this Saturday, but the next and
Yeah.
the next or whatever. I mean, because obviously, like he didn't get that hurt.
No, he didn't. He can come back pretty fast. And I know
Yeah,
cutting weight is a hard thing, but he stays in shape. You don't have to, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So put him back on
yeah,
another card. Dana White likes to put his fighters, like when they want to fight, he puts them right back in there. So I'm
yeah.
sure he was impressed with Cheeto's performance. And as far as it goes with O'Malley, do I think it was a horrible injury? I don't think so. I think it was just a
No,
nerve damaging that caught him. We've seen it in a fight with Michael Chandler when he fought Brett Primus in Bellator, and he was moving the same way because of a lower calf kick. So I think O'Malley comes back pretty fast too. But
hmm,
I don't know. Give him somebody in top 15. We'll see. But it's going to
yeah.
be a little bit of a harder climb back for the Sugar Show.
Where was it that Cejudo said about O'Malley that he broke a nail or something or?
Yeah, something about breaking a nail. So Cejudo's still talking from the outside, just seeing
Yeah,
stuff
man.
like that happen. And that actually happened to Henry Cejudo when he fought
Yeah.
Demetrius Johnson, and he
Hmm.
actually ended up beating Demetrius Johnson. So it shows
Yeah.
you, I don't know. I'm not disrespecting Sean O'Malley or anything like that, but
No.
there's a lot of, there's levels to this game for sure. And I'm
Hmm.
sure Sean will get there at some point in his career. But for now, we're going to slow down on the Sugar Show. So
Yeah.
we had a big heavyweight fight that will tell a lot for the top 5 of the
Hmm.
heavyweight division with Jerizo Rozenstruik. You say it better than me. I can never say his name right. Go ahead. Correct me on that, Nick.
I could be pronouncing it wrong. I say Rosenstruck just because I don't know. Like I think that's how it, like I'm familiar with a little bit of Dutch or like with languages. I've always had a fascination with languages. So I always make sure that I always, sort of do my research or at least have some sort of base knowledge on how things are pronounced. But yeah, Rosenstruck is what I would go with.
We're gonna go with Biggie Boy. We're gonna go by his nickname.
Biggie Boy, yeah,
Boy.
okay,
Biggie Boy.
that one does the trick.
Took on former heavyweight champion Junior Dos Santos. He ended up finishing Junior Dos Santos in that second round. Junior didn't look bad in the fight. He was striking, moving around, which was a smart game plan against a guy with the power of Biggie Boy. And Junior ended up getting finished in that second round, and it didn't look good. It did not look good, and that's Junior Dos Santos's 4th straight KO loss. Yeah, 4th
Yeah.
straight KO loss. So a lot of people were like asking Dana White, "Are you going to have that talk with Junior Dos Santos? Like that? Maybe you should retire talk." I don't know. The heavyweight division is tough. There's a lot of heavy hitters. it's a very hard weight class to be in. Junior's not getting completely KO'd by these guys. There's a lot of TKOs,
No.
but at the same time, a lot of shots to the head. It's kind of rough. But at the same time, Biggie Boy definitely keeps his ranking to where he is, and he's still considered in that top 5, and he can get fight somebody and be a championship contender within 1 or 2 fights.
Yeah, definitely. And I like what he said in the post-match interview that, he didn't, after getting knocked out viciously, I might add, by Ngannou, that he didn't want to take too much time off. Because like I said, when you take too much time off, things tend to sizzle out, and he didn't want his name to sort of just fade out or dissipate in the rankings. He wanted to come back as soon as possible and show that, look, I could fight a respectable opponent, obviously a legendary opponent like Junior Dos Santos, and knock him out, so that I'm here ready to get whoever wins that. After that next championship fight, I'm ready. I'm waiting in line, first in line, I should add, to get in that next fight after that. So I think I'm just happy for him, like I said, especially the fact that he's from a country that not too many people know about, period, but much more in UFC. And I'm glad that he got the win, that he bounced back. I think he's going to look good, and now this is this whole heavyweight weight class. I mean, it's just looking really interesting what's going to happen next, because Ngannou, Miocic, right? Then you have Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis. So it's just like a whole buffet of no offense to the heavy guys, I guess, in this division, but I couldn't think of. I suppose that's the first analogy that came to my head. But yeah, it's like this all you can eat of talent in that division. It's exciting, and I'm glad that he's back where he should be in the rankings, and he's going to stay ready for whatever comes his way next.
Absolutely, the heavyweight division never looked so. I mean, it's been packed before, but like not in a while. It was just like Stipe versus who, Stipe versus who, Stipe versus who. But now we have so many guys that can challenge him for that title. And even if he retires or something like that, there's still so many guys packed in that top 6 or 7. And there's guys still coming up in the ranks that can challenge him for that title. There's just amazing fighters, strikers, wrestlers, like everything that you want in that division. Mm-hmm. And we got somebody coming in that division officially, finally. John Bones Jones relinquished that light heavyweight title and will be entering the heavyweight division after dominating the division for 9 years now. There hasn't been a different title holder in the light heavyweight division in 9.5 years. That was in John Jones or Daniel Cormier. That shows you how dominant of a force those two were. And it shows you that John Jones has nothing left to prove at light heavyweight. And I've been saying this for a while. I know they want him to fight Dominic Reyes for a second time, but he beat Dominic Reyes. At the end of the day, he beat him. I don't know how motivated John Jones would be for a second fight. Clearly he wasn't. And another thing, too, he wanted more money. The only way for John Jones to get more money is for him to go to a more competitive weight class. And I love the UFC for doing something like that and not having John Jones be a title holder in 2 different weight classes and hold 2 different belts and hold up the weight classes. So that was a perfect move on the behalf of the UFC. And I love that. And I can't wait to see John Jones at heavyweight.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good perspective, because I was sort of curious as to why wouldn't he want to stay the champion of light heavyweight and go to heavyweight as well and hold the 2 title belts. But I suppose that, yeah, it's true. Instead of clogging the pipeline of talent and no longer having to prove to anybody that you're the most dominant fighter in that weight division, I guess it's true for that. Just vacate it. You've obviously ruled that land for a while. Try this new thing out. Like I said, I am happy that Dana specified that Ngannou is going to get the title fight. That just because John Jones is John Jones, that doesn't mean that he's going to get this instant gratification or that he's entitled to a title fight already in that weight division. He's definitely going to have to work his way up. And speaking of going into that weight class and who he should fight, I actually think Rozenstruik would be a nice fight for him to take on, because it's I don't want him to I definitely don't want, given the legendary status that he has, and that he is arguably the greatest of all time in this sport for the men's. I think that, don't sort of no offense to Cowboy, but don't do like a McGregor kind of thing, where you're fighting somebody towards the end of their career or latter end at least. I want you to come in and fight somebody that's hot right now. And I'm sure that Rozenstruik is going to want to take that too, because he's not really intimidated by anybody. He wants the opportunities wherever they come. So I think that would be a really nice fight. And it'd be interesting to see how John Jones does in that weight division, especially with those chicken legs, as Adesanya. I think it was Adesanya that had said
Adesanya
something.
said that. He's
Yeah,
like, get some weight in those chicken legs, which I know
yeah.
John Jones has small legs, but hey, he's
But
pretty much 27-0, never lost. So
yeah, exactly. So those legs are working. Don't let the size intimidate you.
I like that matchup though. John Jones versus Biggie Boy would be great. What an intro to the heavyweight division. We'd see if John Jones can take heavy shots from those guys because
Hmm.
you're with bigger guys now. John Jones has trained with heavyweight guys. From Andre Arlovsky, Alistair Overeem used to train with him.
Yeah.
Travis Brown. He's been in there with bigger guys, so he's used to it. But he's used to it when he was maybe cutting down to 205. So he was
Hmm.
staying around that 218, 220 like weight. But now he's gonna have to gain a little bit more muscle, get a little bit more
Yeah.
body mass, you know, to handle these guys. These guys can hold him against the cage if they want to because
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
huge.
All they got to do is lean on him.
Yeah, there's some big boys. I know John Jones is 6'4", but at the same time, body mass and all that, he's gonna have to change a lot of those things. He's gonna have time for it. Dana White said he's gonna take some
Yeah.
time before he goes to heavyweight. Uh, do a lot of different things, and it's going to be very different to see different challengers for John Jones because we've kind of seen him fluctuate in between like same contenders. From Cormier twice, he almost fought Reyes twice. He fought Gustafsson
Hmm.
twice. You know, when you're fighting guys two times, so many times, like two times that amount of
And beating them
times,
both times pretty much
and beating them both times.
because Cormier, even that, I think the only reason why Cormier got the win was because of what they had found, you know, the alleged PED used by Jones, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So in reality, it was technically two wins against DC, against Gustafsson, and most likely what would have been against Reyes.
Against Reyes, yeah. So
Yeah.
2-0, 2-0. It's I don't want to see that anymore. So I like that Biggie Boy matchup. I like Overeem versus John Jones. I love Stipe Miocic versus John Jones. Like
Yeah, of
those
course.
fights would just
Who
be
wouldn't?
even Derek Lewis against John Jones. Can you imagine John Jones taking down Derek Lewis and Derek Lewis does one of his "Nah, I'm getting up" kind of things, and John
Yeah,
Jones would be
exactly.
shocked and be like, "Holy crap, this is what they do at heavyweight." It's gonna
Yeah,
be
exactly,
so
man.
cool to see, and I feel like John Jones would get even more pay-per-view buys. Not to say he wasn't getting that much before,
Right.
but now it gives fans the intrigue. It's like, how's he
Hmm.
going to look at heavyweight now? We want to see this. We want to watch this. We don't want to watch him fight the same guy he just beat a couple months ago. No, nobody's
Yeah,
going to
exactly.
watch that. They want to see John Jones at heavyweight. It took him this long. I'm glad he's here. I can't wait to see the matchups. John Jones, good on you. I got kind of nervous when he said he was relinquishing the title because I thought he
Yeah.
was just going to retire and just like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not getting paid. But he's going to stay in the UFC. And now we're going to see Johnny Bones Jones at heavyweight. And can you imagine how his body's going to look? Because you see his brothers, Chandler Jones and
Hmm.
Arthur Jones in the NFL. They're some big boys. And these are guys who
Yeah,
don't have
they
to
are.
cut weight. They're just eat and they work out. So now John Jones can just eat, work out, and then who knows how that's going to look. So that's
Yeah.
awesome on John Jones. And I can't wait.
It's definitely gonna be interesting because, like you said, he's a pretty slim guy. I mean, obviously he's a muscular guy, but he's a pretty slim guy for you know, especially being at 6'4". And the thing is that he's definitely gonna have to put on a lot of weight and a lot of weight with muscle because, I mean, these are some thick boys. With the exception of Miocic, I mean,
Yeah.
Ngannou is muscularly thick. You got Derek Lewis. You have Rosenstruck, who actually looked kind of slim this past fight, but they tend to be on the huskier side or the muscle side as.
He wasn't slim here for sure.
No, no, he wasn't. He wasn't. But
he was
you know,
slim there.
he's gonna have to do that because if not, you're gonna get like one of these. I mean, I'm kind of dating myself, but you're gonna get like one of these Sean Bradley, Karl Malone type of matchups where, you know, like just because you're taller doesn't mean that you're gonna be able to just tower over the guy. You know, these guys have the muscle to really just, like you said, just lean up against you on the cage and just, you know, fight it out that way. So he's definitely going to have to get big. And like you said, you look at his brothers, and if that's as big as John Jones can get, that's going to be a scary sight.
That's a scary John Jones right there. That's going to be dynamic, and I can't wait for that. Speaking of comebacks, one of everybody's favorite fighters to watch is making his return. Anthony Rumble Johnson has officially entered
I'm
back
so
in the
happy about that.
USADA pool to make his comeback, and he is coming back to the light heavyweight division. I thought he would come back to heavyweight because he got pretty big as he was in training for a little bit. He was about like 275, 285 or something like that. He was just weight training. And Anthony Johnson is a guy who can get pretty big, which is crazy because he used to fight at 170 pounds when he first started fighting.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to see that he's coming back when John Jones leaves the division. So how perfect is that? He leaves the division, and
Timing.
now you got Dominic Reyes, who's fighting John Blachowicz. We'll talk about that in a second. Fighting for the title, and then you got Anthony Johnson coming back, and there's a couple guys he hasn't even fought yet that we'll see some new matchups. Him with Thiago Santos, him fighting Reyes one day, him fighting maybe Glover again. I know he beat Glover pretty fast, but Glover's kind of better in these days, and so is a guy like Anthony Smith. There's a lot of contenders within that weight class, so we can see a lot of different matches for Rumble.
Definitely. I'm just happy to see him back. He was always one of my favorite fighters when I started watching this, and I think what's so funny about Anthony is that like he looks like such an intimidating guy, and yet he's actually a pretty cool, mellow guy. So it's funny. Like I always like how that's sort of like a sleeper type of I guess how should I say this, characteristic. I've always appreciated that in sports. So I mean, and then like you said, the fact that John Jones has vacated that top spot, who knows? Maybe he's been sort of, maybe he's kicked back a little bit, but not too much, where he can't just get back into shape, come back and dominate in that division. I mean, how old is he now? Do you know?
Anthony Johnson?
Yeah.
36.
36. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Glover. Glover's over 40, if I remember correctly.
Over 40,
and
correct,
and he's doing just fine. So I mean, 36 is just a number, especially in this league.
Especially a guy like Anthony Johnson, who's not taking that much damage in his career. He's given more damage, if anything,
he's taken
in his MMA career. That one shot that he's caught Glover with, that he's caught Alexander Gustafsson with. Oh my God, the who's he's just knocked out so fast. This is going to be so interesting to see what he's been doing, if he's still been training, what Henry Hooft can do to change his game, his grappling. He's been grappling recently. He was in the quintet, I believe, last year, grappling, and his grappling did not look bad. And he's not a guy you look forward to submitting anybody or wrestling. That means he's working on his game, and he's been working on his game, and he's taking some time off to heal injuries, get that rejuvenation back, and I know he's still going to have that power, because that power doesn't go anywhere. You can be 55 years old, and you're still going to have that power in your hands. We'll see with Mike Tyson in November. But it's still good. It's still going. Power's still going to be there. We're going to see some fresh matchups, and I'm curious to see how Blachowicz and Reyes are going to look in their light heavyweight title fight, which was announced yesterday.
Yeah, that's an interesting fight, and I'm glad that they moved on quickly with this whole, because I thought it was going to take. I was surprised when they announced it, because when we talked, when you had texted me about what we were going to discuss this week, I mean, one of the topics was, who should fight for that title, and immediately, like, yeah, exactly, the next day, they went, but yeah, this is a good. I like this. I would like to see Thiago Santos in there, but no, this isn't a bad. I don't think this is a bad fight at all, because Reyes was the last one to fight against John Jones. So, or wait, Reyes was after Santos,
Reyes,
right?
Reyes was after Santos, yep.
Right, it was after Santos, which Santos tore everything in both those legs that fight. Which
Poor guy.
I gotta give him.
I know. Funny. It's not funny. That's
it's just that it's not that it's funny. It's just like, it's crazy to think, like, how does that happen to somebody, and that they continue for 5 rounds?
5 rounds. He fought with both ACLs.
Ridiculous.
That is crazy.
It's nuts. But anyways, yeah, like I'm happy that we got this fight, and it's going to be interesting. Definitely. I think Reyes is obviously going to have sort of that wanting of that vindication, sort of like we talked about Cheeto earlier with the last fight, because even though John Jones did win that fight, I guess if you really wanted to, you can sort of make a case for Dominic Reyes. I think a lot of people also thought about, if you have to, he didn't convincingly win, which not everybody's on board with that type of mentality when you're fighting the champion, that you have to convincingly win. Because look at Volkanovski and Max Holloway in that last fight that they had. A lot of people were upset with that. So I think that he's still upset about it, and he's going to go into this fight. But I mean, it's not going to be easy. I mean, Jan is
a
scary guy.
What he did to Corey's last fight, knocked him out in the first round with a left hook. He has that power. Reyes, we're going to see if he's able to take a shot, or how he's going to mix it up with a guy like Jan. So it's going to be very interesting. But at the same time, are we going to see as dominant as a champion as John Jones? I don't think so. I feel like we're going to see that title. We're going to see that title flip around maybe a couple of times. Or if Anthony Johnson is just winging them shots, it's knocking everybody out. We might see Johnson rule that division for a couple of years, but I don't think we'll ever see a run like John Jones in this lifetime. Never.
No.
The guy went through a murderous row of people and defended his title so many times. He never lost. He might have had some close calls, but at the end of the day, he won. He did enough. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this new light heavyweight division looks without the champ, John Jones, at the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of like what happened with flyweight before Davison showed up. You know, I
Yeah,
think
with Demetrius.
there was sort of like a, well, who's up next? Like, who's gonna really dominate this division now? So, and I mean, even though obviously there's talented names on that list because this is the best league in the world when it comes to mixed martial arts, I don't think that there's really anybody, like you said, convincingly that you can say like, oh, Reyes is going to be the next guy or Blachowicz is going to be the next guy. You know, it's going to be, I mean, granted, one of those guys are going to be the next guy because that's the championship fight for the next one. But as far as who's going to have that dynasty over the next 9 years like John Jones had, I don't really see anybody, or there's not really a name that I can put out from that division that I can see doing the same that he did.
No. So we had a little bit of a, I mean, we saw what's his name? Michael Chandler talk about a little bit of free agency, and it looks like he's heading towards the UFC. Like, I think he heard me. I don't know if you saw the tag that I put him in there. He might have heard what I was saying or what we were saying. We watched that interview the other day, and everything pointed to him going to the UFC. So he said within the next 7 days, there's going to be an announcement. Are you excited? Are you excited for Michael Chandler in the UFC?
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I be excited? I mean, this is like that's arguably between, I think, welterweight and lightweight are the best divisions for men in this game. And the fact that he's going to be basically, he could probably do both. Obviously, he would go to lightweight, but I mean, you look at that lightweight division, and you have Khabib Nurmagomedov, you have Justin Gaethje, you have Dustin Poirier, you have Dan Hooker. I mean, it's just literally an endless supply of talented fighters that are already known and that are coming up in that division. So to add Chandler already to that division it's the cherry on top of the sundae.
Absolutely, and I think Scott Coker has made a mistake when he had the opportunity to re-sign Michael Chandler. You know what he told Michael Chandler? He said that you're not 21 anymore, which is crazy because Michael Chandler is at the prime of his career.
Yeah,
he just
exactly.
finished Benson Henderson in the first round and KO'd him. What are you thinking?
Which has never happened. Which has never happened. And Scott Coker, what are you thinking? A guy like Michael Chandler, I'm signing him to 10 fights for the next 10 years and keeping him as long as I can. But you know what? It's a blessing in disguise, and now we're going to get the opportunity to see Michael Chandler in the UFC. And he says he wants to fight before the year is over. So we might see him on one of these cards coming up before the end of the year. I would love to see him on a December card if Stipe and Ngannou fight at the end of the year, which I think should happen, which here's something I'm going to say, and I forgot to say this earlier. I'm a little tired of, I can't say I'm a little tired because I understand it's a very hard sport, but I don't want to wait another year to see Stipe Miocic fight. Like, he has to fight at least twice a year. At least twice, you know? He's not having to cut weight, but he's having to, put his body through a lot. And he's fighting a lot of, very hard guys. But I want to see Stipe at least twice a year. Give him some time to rest, spend time with the family, and get him back in there with Ngannou in December. Have Michael Chandler fight somebody big in that lightweight division in his debut in a co-main event. I would love to see that. Yeah, no, that'd be sick. I mean, I don't know if Miocic would be necessarily in a rush to get back. Because I mean, as we saw, he just went 5 rounds with DC, and secondly, he's definitely a family man. He was in a rush after that fight to just want to be back with his family, and he's already proven so much that this constant, like you said, after every fight he feels like retiring, and yet he doesn't, because he doesn't necessarily have to, because he's still talented, extraordinarily talented. But at the same time, it's like, dude, if your heart's not in it anymore, just hang it up. Obviously, you've proven that you're the best that this division has ever had. And, just sort of make way for somebody else who's going to be able to, come up with the demands. Because physically, we know that Miocic can come up with the demand. But whether he's willing to is another. He's capable, but he's not always willing. So, I definitely would like to see either a little bit more willingness or just hang it up and give it to somebody that can fulfill the demand of the fans and of the league. But, if they could fight in December and then have Chandler co-main event with, so we already have Khabib and Nurmagomedov coming up in November, right? In October or November?
October. So
October.
the guys that we have free right now are Poirier,
Yeah.
Ferguson,
Uh-huh.
Oliveira,
Mm-hmm.
what's his name? Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name right now.
Hooker.
Dan Hooker,
Then Hooker.
Paul
Paul.
Felder. We got a
Yeah.
lot of
The
guys that
list
he
keeps
can
going, man.
fight. The list keeps going, and none of these guys are injured. All of these guys are primed and ready to fight. So put
Mm-hmm.
them in there in a December. Oh my God, it's like I said last time. Give me Poirier and Chandler. I'm gonna throw up everywhere. I'd be so excited.
Dare we
So
say McGregor?
He's not gonna. He's not
Nah,
gonna
he's
do
not
it.
gonna.
We're not
You
seeing
don't think
McGregor
so?
until next year. No, I love to
Oh,
McGregor. We're
that's
not
true.
seeing him
Yeah,
until
yeah.
next year.
He's not gonna
Dana
fight
said
without
it.
a crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dana said it already. We're not gonna see him. I'm not putting him in any conversation. He's retired. I'm gonna stick with Dana. He's retired for now. He is retired, and we're not talking about Conor McGregor.
Yeah,
But
that's true. That's true.
Chandler said that he was naming them in this interview the other day that I was
Yeah.
watching. He's naming these guys, and I know he did bring up having a trilogy with Eddie Alvarez and ONE FC, but you go fight Eddie Alvarez and ONE FC, who else are you going to fight after that? I don't want to see that. You
Yeah,
go to
exactly.
PFL, PFL has a lot of good fighters, but I don't want to see him fight anybody there. At this time in his career, his prime, fight prime guys, give good fights. He said he wants to have his lip bleeding, his lip cut, his eye swollen shut fighting these guys. He's ready to go to war because he knows he's going to have to go to war with any one of these guys in that top
Mm-hmm.
6, 7 of that lightweight division. So, Michael Chandler, I hope next time we do this podcast, I'm announcing your official UFC signing. We're announcing your UFC official signing.
I hope so too, man. I mean, this is I really hope. I mean, if he stays with Bellator, like I can understand why he would, but yeah, if he joins UFC, that's just gonna be so appetizing. It's
Please, Lord.
so
Please, Lord.
yeah.
Today, I'm
Please,
praying to the
UFC
MMA
gods,
gods.
yeah, or the
UFC
MMA gods,
guys,
yeah,
please, Lord. Oh, my God. We want to see it. But,
yeah.
guys, we thank you so much for coming on. I know it's a day earlier than usual. Different show this week, but always an amazing show. We appreciate you guys as well. I want to send a shout out to Rude Athletics for a lot of things that we've been talking about and a lot of interviews to come up. A shout out to Burt Watson for sliding through. Bruce Buffer, I got an interview with him next week. A lot of things coming up.
That's
Me
gonna
and
be
Nick will be
big.
here. Yeah, that's going to be huge.
That's gonna be massive.
We got some things coming for you guys. And I appreciate you guys, of course, for coming by. Nick, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
That's okay. We don't need to do
to
that.
you.
We don't need to do that.
Happy birthday. We might be switching over to YouTube permanently. We're going to see. We're going to talk some things out because there's been some issues with Instagram Live. You guys let us know what you prefer to see us on, but we just want to make this as clear as possible for you because sometimes we have some issues with Instagram Live. Instagram, if you're watching this, we got some issues with you guys, but we'll let you guys know soon. We're always going to drop news in there for you to be informed about everything. Me, Nick, we're out.
Later.
Later, guys. Boom.